to really truly thrive in this world, as in to really live your best life possible, I think there's only one skill that you need to acquire. The skill that I'm talking about is the ability to tell what you want from what you don't. And being able to say, this thing that I just saw on the internet does not belong in my life. Just because it looks good, or just because the person that is experiencing that thing that I'm seeing through the camera is enjoying it, doesn't mean that needs to be something that needs to become a part of my own life. It's having such strong awareness of who you are and being so truly brutally honest with yourself about what it is that you want. That is it. That is all you ever need. And why it's so important to actually develop this skill right now in today's time and age is because things have shifted, okay? Society is shifting completely from living in a very structured way, where we're told, for example, that you need to get a job, you need to get a degree, you need to do all these things, you need to marry by that time. We were given all these templates for how we're supposed to be living, and previous generations did that. And of course, they weren't really that happy with the results that they really got in their lives, because we have a lot of older people right now that feel like they've been betrayed. Like the things that they've had in their life in the past were complete lies, right? And they're reflecting on that now, and probably I imagine there's like a lot of sadness, there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of what ifs. For what if I had actually done this before? What if I hadn't listened to that? What if I hadn't listened to my parents telling me that I need to have children, and instead I trusted this little voice in my head that was telling me that actually children are not for me? So I feel like a lot of older people, maybe 30, 40 years old or older, are very much really disappointed with the decisions they've made in life. And if you're there right now, then you really have my compassion, honestly. But now that we are moving towards a completely different time, templates don't work anymore. We know that templates don't work because we have all these examples of people that didn't do the things they really wanted to do, but instead they did whatever society told them to do. We know that that doesn't work. We're seeing that everywhere. We're seeing so many people talk about the mistakes they had made in the past, right? That led them to a life they're really disappointed with, really, really sincerely unhappy with, okay? And what really sparked this desire for me to talk about this and why it's so important to build this skill, and I'm going to go into how I think you can actually develop this skill and how you can really determine what you need to be doing in your life to really get to where you want, okay? And I already hinted at that a little bit, and the key word here is honesty. So we are going to get that in a moment. So watch this video by Teal Swan that she put out recently, which spoke about the fact that relationships are changing, okay? So we used to have all these templates about what kind of relationships we need to have, about the fact, for example, that we needed to marry by a certain age, we needed to have a house by a certain age, have children, and we weren't allowed to think for ourselves and to make different choices, independent choices that align more with our own unique values. We weren't given all that in the past, right? And that's why relationships are changing today. And for people to really end up in happy relationships, they need to stop just jumping into any relationship based on the old templates, because that is most likely going to lead to really dissatisfying relationships where their needs aren't really met, where each individual person's needs won't be met. So that video made me think about this more deeply and about the fact that there's literally no template at all. And the thing is, the very painful reality is that although freedom is amazing, it's amazing that right now we have so much more freedom to consider what we individually want. That is also a massive challenge, not only because we have so much information that we get bombarded with daily, not only because of that, but also because actually following a template is so much easier, isn't it? Right? For example, if I think back to my school days when I used to really work hard and study hard at school and I got certain grades my parents would be satisfied with, and then later university grades that I would be satisfied with, that I think would ensure that I would get a very good job, a very good position within a company, right? The fact that I've been doing all of that was because I had a very specific structure and it felt good. It felt good to know what my next step is going to be, right? It felt good to know, okay, I just finished my high school studies. Now I'm going to go into university and then I'm going to apply to jobs. When you have a very specific template and you know what you need to be doing, there's less critical thinking to be done. You don't need to critical think about what you want and desire. So you can also say that one of the most important skills to develop right now is critical thinking. Okay, because with critical thinking, we'll be able to determine what is really good for us and what isn't. So in order to actually develop this skill and thrive, is to really go within ourselves, to really dig deep into our values, into the things that come from our soul, let's say, because I made a video recently about how important it is to actually follow the path of your soul instead of the path of the ego. Okay, because your ego is telling you that I need to become famous. Okay, whereas your soul is telling you that I actually want to be loved, and maybe you're going to conflict, or you're going to try to attain one through the other and realize that it's actually not possible for you to get the thing you actually want by getting the thing that your ego thinks it wants. So let me bring an example into the picture. Let's take me and what I want, which is not really clear for me at the moment. So I'm also in this band of a person that doesn't really know what she needs to thrive. And I also need to use my critical thinking skills to determine what it is I need to do to get what I want. Okay. So I know that I really love fitness. Okay. I know that I really love calisthenics. That is a sport that I am trying to excel at. So I know that. And my ego might think, I want to grow so much. I want to really grow in this field and become so good. And then I think to myself, do I actually want this? Like, if I actually become famous and everybody kind of knows me, is that really the goal? No, the goal really is to actually build a good, thriving business, okay? That might involve me getting famous as well, okay? It might involve this, but what my heart actually wants is to be doing something that it can wake up to every single day and love with so much passion. All right, I want to be waking every day with so much energy to be doing what I want. That's something my soul wants, because it would satisfy something, a very deep yearning that I have inside of me. Whereas actually getting the fame and focusing on getting the fame is going to just satisfy your ego. So learn to listen to your heart, essentially, to really find out what is really for you based on your values, based on your goals, based on what you wanted in childhood when you were just an innocent little soul going about life, and you knew kind of, oh, I really like this thing, I really don't like that thing. You were really honest with yourself. So do that deep inner digging by considering what your soul really wants, and you'll be able to tell, because again, your ego only wants some basic things. Your ego wants money, your ego wants fame, your ego wants sex. These are the things that your ego wants. So it's so easy to tell if these are the things you want, or if there's something else in the picture that you actually want that is deeply personal to you. Okay, so consider your values, consider your past, and just try to listen to your heart. Take maybe long walks to really have your own voice become so crystal clear, instead of actually you listening to the voice that are kind of floating in your head. Okay, so you're going to do that work, and then you need to be honest. If you shame yourself about what you want, you will know, because you're going to have a desire come up and you will think to yourself, this is not acceptable. Why would I want that? Okay, and unless you have so much honesty with yourself, you might be able to determine what you want, but you might not have enough confidence to just write it out on paper, because maybe you would get disapproval from other people. Maybe your parents would disapprove of you. Maybe society as a whole would disapprove of you. So you will know what that is as you start to question that more and more. So this is, I think, the most important skill that we need to develop, all of us as humans, in today's time and age, because things are changing, things are shifting. And although we might be at a time where we have so many different options, right? We might still end up being even more bitter and disappointed because we knew we had all these answers in front of us. We had so many resources, so many books, so many people online, and we still didn't accomplish what we wanted. So I think that can be an even worse pain to be going through than the pain of, okay, I had this template to follow, I followed this template, and I didn't feel happy. That is going to really sting when you recognize this. But I think it's going to sting even more when you realize you didn't accomplish what you wanted and you had every means available to you to do so. So every generation is experiencing its own set of problems. And you not doing this work and not actually moving with the times, not adapting with these new times, means you're going to end up also very bitter and disappointed in this life, and you don't want that. So develop a skill, work on it as hard as possible across all areas of your life, your relationships, your career, your life as a whole, and then focus on those things and really be honest with yourself about what those should look like. All right? For example, say you're a guy and you actually don't want to be a provider, right? Because everyone talks about guys needing to be the providers. You're a guy who couldn't give a shit about being a provider, okay? And you become honest with yourself about that, right? In the context of relationships, I don't want to be a provider. Maybe you want the woman to provide for you, okay? If you're not honest with yourself, then you're not going to be able to write that down. And if you don't really question that, and how you can question it is by saying, okay, I feel like my ego wants to be provider because then I will actually get so much praise from society. People will be like, oh my God, you provide for your woman, you pay for everything she needs. You are so dependable. You're such a strong human. Amazing. That is what would satisfy the ego. But what would satisfy your soul, for example, would be maybe, I don't know, taking care of children, because that's what you want. You knew that growing up, you really liked children, and that's what you actually wanted to do. Or you really like, I don't know, you engage with your hobbies, doing gardening, anything. And you actually say, these things will not satisfy your ego if you were to go into those things. You wouldn't get praise from outside because people still feel we need to actually be following templates, right? And they're very unhappy with themselves. And that's why they tell you and others to use these templates, otherwise they're not going to find happiness. They keep on saying that stuff anyway because they aren't happy with their own lives. So you following that is just you becoming as bitter as them, and you don't want that. That would not satisfy the ego then, okay? But it would satisfy your own soul. And you would go through the process, understand, okay, this is what I want. I've always liked this. I've always liked that. You become honest enough to actually say, this is what I want, and just start talking about it with people, okay? So you're going to start going on dates, and you're going to be saying this thing. Actually, yeah, I would never want to be a provider. Honestly, today's time and age, that would probably mean it will be nearly impossible to date, so my condolences. But if that's what you want, maybe you'll actually get it that way, maybe you never will. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say you're definitely going to get what you want. Hell no. But imagine actually getting not what you want and being disappointed either way, right? You don't want that, okay? So I think it's better to be honest, because ending up in something you are unhappy with, unless you make some certain compromises, which is okay, right? Maybe, for example, you won't be the provider, but you will be putting a certain amount of money on the table as far as you're comfortable with. And you both will be working, both you and your partner or something. So you'll be doing the compromise that, okay, I'm going to work a little bit harder to make a little bit more money, but I am not going to be providing everything for you. So you're going to find some kind of middle line. That is fine too. But if you don't ever become honest, and not just with you, but with everyone else, and dare enough to gather disapproval, you will never know if you can actually get what you want and if you can actually generally thrive And why not give that a chance? Why not give that thriving reality a chance, right? I think it's stupid not to at least try. And that's it from today's video. If you liked it, then give it a thumbs up, and I would love to see you in the next one. So have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.